Good morning. I'm actually remembering to share my own live. So, good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to this morning's edition of Contracting Chatter, where we discuss all things business, all things government contracting. And if you're giving me a hot second, I need to do something. I was actually editing yesterday's episode and forgot to turn the light on. So, good morning. How are we doing this morning? You know how we do over here. We don't believe in growing alone. So tag your business bestie, grab your contractor's notebook and your favorite beverage. If you're driving, don't grab anything. Pay attention to the road. Just turn the volume up. All replays are available on my YouTube channel, LT&A Consulting Group. And your business bestie can fill you in on the details. Welcome. Yesterday, I didn't cover any of the topics I had planned. However, from the feedback I've been receiving, it was a great topic. And I'm glad that you found value in yesterday's content. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. And you know how we were raised. Say hello as you come into the room. I'm live in all my platforms. Well, just about all. I'm just not live on Instagram, but we're going to cure that in a little bit. So this morning, we're covering or discussing aspects of the presidential budget, the FY25 budget. Now, yesterday, several committees were in place to review and justify, is the way they discuss it, the budgets that were assigned to each department, agency, bureau contained within the FY25 budget. Remember, the federal government runs on a fiscal year, which begins October 1st. And the purpose of each committee that oversees each bureau of the federal government includes budget oversight. I don't know what's going on with my streaming. So if you're watching from my other sites, there's something going on with my streaming service and I can't bring up my chat box. I always go back and review it afterwards. So if you're commenting, if you're putting in questions, I will go back, review it, and respond to you then. So hopefully it'll come up before I log out. But there's something going on and the chat box isn't coming up for some the chat box isn't coming up for some reason. Anyway, one of the duties of the oversight committees is monitoring and administrating the budget. And as a part of that duty, they have to ensure that the budget for that bureau, agency, department, and I'm using those terms because everybody believes every agency is just that, one conglomerate. Agencies are broken down into, some of them are broken down into bureaus. Some of them have departments, some of them have both. It depends upon the size, such as the infamous Department of Defense. Department of Defense actually have bureaus and agencies. Department of Interior have agencies within the Department of Interior. So it depends upon which agency or bureau or department you're talking about, which term we're going to use. So I'm using all three of them. They have to review the budget, match it to the previous year's budget, and see if that budget is the same. And if it's an increase, is that increase warranted? And as I mentioned yesterday, that's why low hanging fruit season is so important. Every government agency spends their entire budget because they're penalized for not doing so. No agency is rewarded for saving money for real. They're penalized for spending their entire budget for not spending their entire budget because it's viewed as though you don't need the money. So they allocate those funds or obligate those funds. And then we're going to go on into how they move funds around later. That's a whole conversation for another day. So yesterday, the various committees met to review whether or not the money in the budget for them was warranted. The committee oversight for force and Department of Interior met yesterday. One of the committees over the Department of Defense met yesterday to review their budget. DOD is going to get their money by hook or by crook because they're implementing the second or the third phase of Zero Trust Initiative. And the Zero Trust Initiative is basically where they're going through their system. And anybody who is in there that doesn't belong in there, they're booting them out. They're tightening their cybersecurity because there's this uptick in malware, ransomware, yourware, myware. Your IT people, you know what I'm talking about. So the federal government adopted it, but DOD is doing it to the umpteenth level. So if you ever were in their system and you're in there now and there's no reason for you to be in there, you're getting booted out the system. If you were supposed to be in there and the contract said 6 months and it's been 8 months and you're still in there, you're getting booted out the system. They're doing a very aggressive overhaul to streamline their whole system. They're employing AI in the Department of Defense. And once again, I'm telling you this because these are keys for government contracts that are going to come out in the final quarter this year and in next year. They're employing AI as ways to remove redundancy and as ways to help them reduce. Now, some of this stuff is above my head because I am not a battle tactician. Well, a battle tactician is in putting troops on the ground. That's not my thing. So when I was reading some of this stuff, it was like reading Greek. However, I understand the overall goal or the overarching goal. So they're trying to employ AI in some various aspects. So, DOD asked for a large budget increase. And a lot of that, and then the federal government computer systems in some ways is still stuck in the 80s. So a lot of agencies have asked for money to modernize their computer systems. So if you're in computers, if you're in IT, that's why you're seeing all these ads for cybersecurity to learn cybersecurity. Now, one of the things I picked up when I was reading the presidential budget that a lot of people are sleeping on, and I'm going to talk to you about, is the presidential focus. Now, he's focusing on the passage of new wage rules. Now, let me tell you something. There are already wage rules in government contracting. So for those of us who have been in government contracting for 20 plus years, there were already wage rules. So he created redundancy to make it look like he was doing something. These wage rules already existed. He didn't really do anything new. He expanded the wage rules, which he could have just had Congress write an addendum and versus creating a new executive order. And what the new wage rules did, I don't know what's going on with my chat feature. What the new wage rules did was expanded to salaried workers. Hear me out, walk with me. It expanded to certain classes of salaried workers. Now I'm gonna have to go to the Department of Labor because of that new wage rules, the Department of Labor had to rewrite some rules around salaried employees. Now, once again, this isn't new because there were certain classification of salaried employees that were always entitled to overtime, and just that employers were ignorant to the rules because they refused to hire people like me, which are compliance officers, that would have told them no, just because their salary doesn't mean that they don't get overtime. In fact, that was one of the first audits that I worked on when I went into compliance. Our IT department, our IT department, part of our IT department was classified salary to get around paying them overtime. It wasn't malicious, it was ignorance. And when Department of Labor came in, Department of Labor said, one, they should be hourly. Two, you owe them overtime, 3 years worth. And what I worked on was the calculation for the help desk in IT. So we had to calculate the overtime they were owed. And then it had to be processed through payroll with an uptick so that even after taxes was taken out, they were still paid the money they were owed. So the penalty that the company had to pay for ignorance was there. You can't just make up your own rules. And non-compliances are expensive because you have to pay, you have to rectify your employees, and then you still have to pay the government penalties for disobeying the rules. So for all of you people who say you don't need to know a compliance person, when you get caught, it's expensive. And even though you don't have to pay the people who left, you still have to pay the penalty for not paying the people who left. They tried to say, well, these people don't work here anymore. And they was like, but you still mistreated them. So you still have to pay the penalty for mistreating the people that you didn't pay right. So that was one of the first audits. So these rules have always existed. The president just expanded the rules. But keeping that in mind, in his, I call it the preamble to his budget, there's a focus on strengthening the workforce. Now, for those of us who have been in government contracting, we know this has been around since, I call it the Great Reset, because when you say the name on TikTok, your live gets taken down. I experienced that 2 weeks ago. So during COVID, during 2020 and before, they were talking, the Department of Labor issued a report that said, hold on for a second, TikTok. During COVID, for the rest of you guys, Department of Labor issued a report that by 2030, that I believe it was 40%, if not 50% of the workforce was going to need an upskilling by the year 2030. So consultants, coaches, that's workforce development contracts. And whether you want to hold the contract or you just want to be a part of those contracts, that's government contracts. I have a podcast episode coming out tomorrow on the 3 types of government contractors that's going to release and free a whole lot of people, because you think that you have to be full-time government contractors. You don't. And I really believe that once that episode comes out, it's going to make a difference for a whole lot of people. So whether you want to just partner with people like myself, because not only am I a consultant for those who do it, I have a whole separate company who perform government contracting. So you may just want to partner with me and say, hey, I don't want to do government contracting. I just want to work on your contracts when they come through. Hey, that means you're contractor A. Matter of fact, that just means you're someone who wants to be a corollary person. You just want to work hand in hand and work in tangent with government contractors. You still belong in a community with government contractors, because you can't work with us if you're not around us. Hello. You can't work with us if you don't attend our events. Every government contractor isn't built the same. There's some government contractors you should work with, some of you shouldn't. And that includes the big dogs. So let's, go from there. And then there's a focus on strengthening something he's calling emerging markets. Now, there's always this language around emerging markets. That's new technology. That's a resurgence of old technology. I'm going to say that again. Emerging markets is new technology and a resurgence of old technology. What do you mean by that, Luciana? I'm glad you asked me. The resurgence of old technology is where they go back, see something that's already been there and done that, dust it off, and make it, retweak it, and reintroduce it. One such thing is, now a lot of people who don't know this, not aware of this, there's still lead pipes and there's still copper piping. You still have areas affected by, they call it in the government, non-potable drinking water. These initiatives are still running around here in government where they're identifying these areas, funneling federal dollars into these areas to identify, remove, and replace. These contracts are excavation, construction, plumbing, because somebody has to lay the pipes. You see where I'm going? These are multi-layer contracts. Education, because health, somebody has to go in and test the children to make sure that they're not sick. Somebody has to go in and educate and inform the local population. Then somebody has to go in and do the tracking. These are all government contracts. And guess where I got all of this from? The budget. And guess something else. Some of these there are contract vehicles that can be created based upon contracts that are coming out. You have to just know how to present it to the government. Marketing to the government is not like marketing to anybody else. And one of the things that I see often is people want to just say, I want to go in and market a new idea and new concept to the government. But you want to go in there and market and pitch to them like you're pitching to your best friend. And while you need to be personable, and while you need to have some personality, you can't pull up like you're pulling up to your girlfriend's house or your boyfriend's house. And while there's people that have done that and it worked, I'm going to tell you something that they didn't tell you. They had an inside plug, or they had some way when you talk to these people, they already had some sort of inside. More often than not, my hair got wet in the rain last night, and because I don't wear my hair ultra puffy, it's distracting me. Sorry, I'm not focused. More often than not, they had some sort of inside plug. So when you were asking the government to work around the procurement system, you really have to make a pitch so solid that they can do that. So that's, I announced this yesterday, so I'm going to announce it again today. July 8th through the 12th, there's my annual summit, Contracting and Business Week. It's free. I'm only streaming it to my YouTube channel and my private Facebook group. So either join my Facebook group, which I feel like everybody should be in that group. I intend to move the group to another platform, but for right now, it's in Facebook. And you should join my YouTube channel. I have tons of videos on my YouTube channel. And my podcast, Contractors Conversation, is actually on YouTube as well. It streams on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Go there. Tons of content there. I'm offering a VIP option to contracting and business this year. I normally don't do that, but I decided to upscale this year. The VIP option includes, after the regular session, we switch to a private link where there's Q&A. I always have guests on my contracting and business. Last year's contracting and business is actually on my YouTube channel. You can watch it. It's fire content. So this year I'm doing VIP option, which includes a 30-minute Q&A with my guests. I always do a session, and I'm doing a 2-hour masterclass that Saturday. And of course, I don't have it in front of me, where I talk about creating $1 million team. The VIP option is only $97. So with that, Chatter is a 30-minute segment that I do Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm so upset that my other platform isn't working. Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have questions, you can DM them to me. That's where, quite frankly, some of my content come from viewer questions. So you can actually DM them to me. Disrespectful DMs get deleted. And quite frankly, you can get blocked. I'm just putting that out there as a warning. Now, I have a book out called Keys to Government Contracting. And I pulled out one section of this of keys and created a separate sub book called Stages of Government Contracting, where I kind of went deeper into it. So both are available for order. The order link is available in my description. But I want to read something to you before I log off for this morning. And that's committing to the commitment. I just want to read this one part. Everyone needs to ask themselves a question when they start the process. Are you committed? It's a simple question. Commitment involves a willingness to stick to a chosen path, even when faced with challenges or temptations to give up. In government contracting, there exists cancel requests from the government, impending shutdowns, work stoppages, proposal losses, and more. All of these are time consuming and frustrating. Reviewing the commitment to the process and to the company's development will keep the focus during these times. Every now and then, you have to recommit to your commitment. That's whether you're a government contractor, that's whether you're in business. You have to stay committed to your commitment. And with that, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with my other streaming service. And with that, I'm going to log off for this morning. For those of you who wish to support the platform, there's a link in the subscription on TikTok. And for everyone else, you can scan the QR code to become part of the Chatter family and the Chatter supporter. It comes with certain perks, such as subscriber-only lives and Q&A sessions. With that, I will see you on tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. for another installment of Contractors Chatter. I am your host, Luciana Turner, and I bid you a wonderful day. Have a good one.